Alright guys, before we go on to the actual review of this guy, the proper review, I want to point out two things I say in an error right off the bat. I said when we were transforming it, there was a spot for this black piece here that I couldn't find. I thought it was part of what First Aid had two of. Turns out that his is already attached to the hand, unlike First Aid's, so there's that. The other thing I forgot to mention is that in the box is this silicone pad, which is really nice that they included it. They actually include recommended places on their other combiners. Here is Superion, their Predaking, and of course Prometheus / Defensor. So it's pretty nice that they included that, and I will definitely be putting them on here before we actually see the combined mode review. So yeah, just wanted to point these out because I did miss them in the review. So on to that. What's going on guys, T2RX6 here, back for another third-party review, and today we're taking a look at the TFC Toys Verti-Aid. I always like to say verti-blade for whatever reason, I guess because its name is Blades. But yeah, this is the TFC version of Blades, and I gotta say, when I saw pictures of this helicopter, I was like, no, it's not gonna work for me. And now that I have them in hand, like, wow, this is a pretty flawless helicopter. An extremely tiny helicopter when you compare it to his other Protectopods, but a really nice helicopter. Blades spin really nice on a swivel on the actual peg thing, so that's really nice. Back ones kind of spin, but they tend to get hung up by both the actual tail rotor or the tail and the stabilizer fin back here. Which to me, that stabilizer fin's a little bit long. I wouldn't mind if they were maybe like half the size of this. I actually wouldn't mind if somebody made a little kit to pop them out. It just feels a little bit too long in the grand scheme of this helicopter. But I'm no avionics expert, so maybe that's, correct. Inside the box, of course, we get the last hand to make Defensor. So I'm going to throw you guys a bone, and this week we're going to have a third video that's going to show how to get every one of these guys to their two various limbs, and we'll combine to make our Prometheus. And inside the box you also have his regular guns, and then this cool Gatling gun type thing. So he's got lots of options. So making this guy into his weapon mode is not a chore like everybody else's pretty much. You can plug in the Gatling gun right on the bottom. It looks nice, and with the handle out here, he actually still does sit flush on his wheels there. And then of course you just plug these into the side. Yeah, but you guys know how I feel about side mounted guns like this. I actually do think that the Gatling gun on the bottom looks kind of cool, even though he's a rescue vehicle. But yeah. It is what it is. So let's put him to the side and let's actually bring everybody in. It would have been super nice if they included a stand with this guy. Unfortunately, they did not. So we'll just have to put him on the ground. I did manage to find a stand for some pictures later, but for now you'll just have to deal with this. And here is our hotspot to complete the set. And that's a really nice looking set of rescue vehicles, albeit terribly scaled. Also, I want to point out before we do his robot mode, he did come with some little filler pieces, which are a person with obsessive compulsive disorder's worst nightmare. The red one's not so bad and does a nice job filling in the screw, but when we get to his robot mode, you'll see the ones on his shoulders, and they're very difficult to get in and very difficult to get in the same way. Also, this guy needed a little bit of extra work, so I encourage you to check the transformation video, at least on this one, just so you can see the extra little things I had to do to make him work out properly. Alright guys, so let's get Blades to his robot mode. I left the gun on. We'll take that off as our most important first step, and we'll take these blades off. Now, each one of these blades is a sword. I do recommend getting a knife of some kind, probably smaller than this one, and getting in there and just kind of scraping it around like that. That's what I did, because when this is out of the box, there is so much stress pushing these in and out that I was afraid it was going to break something. So definitely fix those up. But we can take this off for now and put it to the side. So we'll come back to the helicopter here, and it's kind of a matter of really pulling everything apart at this point. So we'll start by opening like the back door almost. It's not really opening the right way, but that unpegs from about 2 different pieces on each side, which we need to actually be able to transform this guy. So once we have that, we can take these red pieces down here. Make sure that you work the little like elbow pieces around there, and they do peg in down here. So we've got that. The next part is to unpeg this, and this is another thing that needed a little bit of work. The mushroom peg on mine was had a little bit of flashing on there, so when you would flip these things on around, it would just pop right off. So keep that in mind. You may need to get in there and take a knife to it a little bit. But we'll just take these out, and we don't need to be too exact with them right now. We'll just get them out of the way, like so, and we'll clean them up when we get to robot mode. So there we go. Now we'll come to the back part, and this part is a little bit scary to me because there's no real good place to grip things. If you're lucky, he's kind of coming apart a little bit on you, gives you a place to stick a finger or something. But if he's real tight, it is very difficult to find a good place to split them apart. So I usually start by doing this, just folding that on in, and I work at the thighs here, and then work my way up the helicopter. And keep in mind that the way these blades clip together, it is a like dovetail interlocking, and yeah, that could keep you from pulling it apart. So I keep these out like this. I'm not entirely sure the best way they want you to have it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll slide out these black pieces. You can slide them out before or after. Now we'll just disconnect this, and we can spin this at the waist there, and we'll take his foot, and it pegs in right down there. So we'll take that, we'll flip this around, and bring that out, and we should actually finish splitting the legs because it's much easier to work with the feet when we can do that. So once again, unpeg it, bring it around, flip it around, flip this piece out, and we pretty much got his feet. We just have to clean up the panels here. So take this panel, fold it on down, and you can see the helicopter folds on in and tabs in there, and you kind of got this piece going on here. I just angle it down like this, which is another reason I really wish that it was a little bit lessened. And it looks like it should peg somewhere, but if you don't put this in, it doesn't peg into the leg the right way. So yeah, it really just kind of sits there like that as far as I can tell. If you guys know someplace else that I'm not seeing where it pegs in, please let me know, because I think that would improve this toy just a slight bit more. But there we go. That's the best I can figure out what to do with the legs there. And now we can take this back piece here, and we'll disconnect the helicopter, and we'll try to clean this up the best we can. And this kind of just sits there like that. It's not terribly elegant, but it is what it is, I guess. So we got that. We can split the arms here, and these are very tight joints. You have to pull this out and then work it around to the bottom like so, and then plug it on in. Work it out, spin it around till it's all the way around, and plug it in. And let's see if we can't do something else with this back bit here, just to try to get it as far out of the way as we can, so it's not messing with his head. Guess that's about as good as we're gonna go. Take this, extend it till it clicks, rotate, and then take this piece here, and it just kind of folds in flush like that. So fold it in, pull it out, flip it around, And there we go. We've got Blades here in his robot mode now. So here we've got Blades in his robot mode, and first off, pretty nice looking head. Definitely looks like Blades. We're going to talk about articulation before we talk about anything else, just because I think it's probably the best thing to do. So, articulation here, it's a little bit blocked by the cockpit of the helicopter, which you can kind of move around, but you can get a nice range of motion out of that shoulder. It is a little bit of a problem to move it thanks to the way that this kind of just like pegs in. It loves to pop this peg out, but you can see full 360, and he's got internal ratchets, so that's pretty nice. We do have, well, a swivel like this from Transformation. We do have the bicep swivel and the elbow that gets you a nice 90 degrees. What more could you want there? Coming to the head, it is on a ball joint, but because the helicopter is right behind it, it can be a little bit limiting. You kind of have to push it down to get a movement out of it. That's probably the worst part about this toy, is that helicopter assembly on the back. Now down to the waist here, we do have a nice waist rotation. It can go 360 as you saw for Transformation. Down on the legs here, actually the hands are on a rotation joint. I want to mention that. They can rotate 360, but they're very tight, so be careful when you move them around. Legs, they are ratcheted, but you can't really hear it very much, but that's okay. And inside and out is real loud. Very strong ratchet there. And then right above the knee we do have a swivel, which pretty much for these guys with all their bulk, it kind of has to be that way. And then coming back here, this is where it's a little bit messy. We do have a knee joint, but because things are all in the way, it makes it kind of hard to use it properly. So keep that in mind when you're trying to pose this guy. And then down at the feet, it's on a ball joint, so plenty of motion out of that. One thing I wanted to point out is that it feels like these panels were designed differently from the start. You can see these little tabs here, and I popped this one off because it almost feels like it's intended to have this peg right in here, and it holds like it should, but this doesn't come down enough that in the other mode you can actually make that happen. So I'm wondering what they changed in the design there. Personally, it would have been really nice if they put the little pegs down here just to kind of hold this in a little bit tighter. But just something I wanted to point out that I noticed while we were doing this articulation. When it comes to Blades' accessory, he's no slouch. He's got all kinds of guns, and of course you can give him the guns if you want. You can fold this handle down for the Gatling gun and do that. Personally, I think the Gatling gun just ends up looking best if we just peg it on his arm here, like this. But you do have the problem that it does get in the way of this upper piece of the helicopter here, so it's not a perfect connection. I then usually take his other guns here and just peg them on here and just give him a colossal arm blaster, like that. The other thing is we've got these blades, and you can do all kinds of things with them. They are articulated, so you can fold them on up if you want to kind of change the way they look. But apparently my dog is dreaming. But each one of these is a sword that him or any of the other protective bots can use. Not a problem there. Of course, for me, the best money on this is to keep these actually extended and then plug it right into the forearm here, and you know, you get a nice little stance with Blades kind of looking towards the rotors there and splayed out, and I think Blades actually looks pretty darn cool like that, if you ask me. Too bad there's not a mechanism to motorize that in there. So once again, let's bring out all the protective bots. This time we will start with our first one, which was Streetwise. Then we'll add Groove. We'll try to find a place here, and we'll put First Aid, like so. Groove, stand up. Don't embarrass yourself on camera. There we go. And we'll of course finish with Hotspot. So overall, I gotta say, I am very pleased with Blades. I was not expecting to like him at all based on the pictures I saw. And out behind, I'd say he's probably behind Verti-Aid on the characters I like. But he is definitely an awesome update to Blades and well worth looking at if you're interested in the set. Alright, so let's get Blades transformed back into his helicopter mode. I love to start by turning the head around. Instructions never tell you to do it, but if you don't, you see his face looking out of the cockpit, and that I don't really care for. So anyway, we'll start with his hands. We will rotate these, and you want to make sure that you kind of have the engines on the side here. And once you do, you can push that up and rotate this thing down, like so. So once again, come around the side, make sure the engines are facing the front. Actually, I guess they're intakes for the engine, I should say. And we got that going on. So now we'll disconnect them so it kind of looks like this. And we'll flip this all the way around like that so it plugs into the top. And then once you have that, well, we have to do that. We need that peg to actually stay out. So let me show you that again on this side without messing it up. Pull it out, rotate that around like that, and there we go. So we can now take this, they fold in like so, and it folds together just like that, making the top portion of the helicopter. Now is a good time to rotate the waist so we don't forget. And we'll come down to his legs here. So start by unfolding this stuff here. And I do not go in the same order that the instructions tell you to, because it is way harder once you start pegging all this stuff together. So start by taking this foot and rotating it around on each side here. Now we'll take this and start folding it back and fold this in like so. And you can see now we got the clearance to get this around, and we can make sure that we're tabbed in on the calf piece here. So I'll try to show you that a little bit better. Take this, flip it around. There we go, tabbed in. So now that we have that done, we can take this and tab these together like so. And I noticed he's got a spot for one of those extra pieces. I wonder if that's the one that came with Verti-Aid. I'm not really sure, I just noticed that. So we'll take that and we'll put these together like so. Your tail kind of needs to be disconnected because you need to slot it in together once it's actually pushed together, and then you can rotate that down. And then this just collapses on into there. It doesn't really peg in by any means, but you know, it serves its purpose. So now that we got that, we can now take these and push them together. And yep, like I said, remember I said the mushroom peg was a little messed up on this? It just did it again. This is the side I was trying to fix. It does not like rotating around on that joint. Anyway, so we'll take that and we'll fold this on up, make sure that both sides have the bend of that piece kind of up, and then you can see that this will all peg in together just like so. So now we'll take this, flip it around, flip this around on its little mushroom peg thing, and flip that, and then this little red piece tabs into the front here like so, and we can take these and bring them up. And then this door here comes, tabs into here and here to kind of lock this all in place. So you can see down here, this one fell off. Again, there's a piece of flash in there that is not doing me any favors. So you kind of have to get this in here and make it click into place. And once you have that, we'll bring it around up here. Plug the red piece in. Bring this red thigh piece around and plug it all in together. And then it's just a matter of putting the blades on top. So yeah, pretty awesome. Let's get to some limbs.